Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There is a saying, with friends like these, who needs enemies? And this was never more so true than if your name is Nicola Sturgeon. One of her so-called friends has claimed that she is a narcissist and that she is to blame for the toxic state of division and the atmosphere in Scottish politics. And I think that friend is absolutely right. And I used the word friend completely wrongly there. Nicola must be wondering if she's got any friends left. Let's have a look at this article, say who's saying what to whom, and to see if they're right. Although, of course, they undoubtedly are. So, hey, here's the article. So, narcissist Nicola Sturgeon's old pal blames her for the toxic atmosphere in Scottish politics. Mandy Rhodes reckons the former First Minister is guilty of lacking self-awareness with an article about juryless rape trials. Now, of course she's right. She is not just lacking self-awareness. She is an absolute psychopath. She has no consideration of other people's feelings. And I've noticed, as I put this up, and it suddenly clicked, that she is slowly morphing into Alex Salmond. Is that what Scottish politics does for you? Everyone eventually ends up as Alex Salmond. It's a terrible picture. Anyway, one of Nicola Sturgeon's old friends has compared her to a narcissist and said that the toxic nature of Scottish politics is down to her. In a withering takedown, Mandy Rhodes said the former First Minister's support for juryless trials showed she lacked even a modicum of self-awareness. Miss Sturgeon had been avoiding the public eye ever since being replaced by Humza Yousaf as SNP leader. But she started to re-enter the fray in the past week and wrote a column in The Guardian on Monday defending the government's plans for these trials to take place without juries. It just so happens that she's once again on the wrong side. The public want juries, the legal profession want juries, even the judges want juries. No one is supporting this except her. It is strange, isn't it, how she can be on the wrong side of everything every single time. No other country in the world does this, and they do it for a reason. It is the best justice. You cannot have the establishment arrest you, the establishment charge you, and then the establishment act as judge, jury and executioner. There is no one outside of the establishment to give any kind of standoff, to give any kind of control that isn't establishment based. It would see a massive increase in miscarriages of justice, especially as judges were told that they have to hit certain targets for convictions. That means that there'd be judges sitting there convicting people who are innocent in order to hit their target. Otherwise the judges lose their job. This was the proposals. It's obviously wrong. Anyway, she blamed the polarisation of politics and the trend to adopt fixed and immovable positions for opposition to it. But this is another thing that she did. She said, no, this is a fixed position. We cannot negotiate. This is it. If you don't agree with this, then we have a problem. There's no negotiation. Politics is all about negotiation. It is the art of the possible. And yes, goalposts must be moved. You reach consensus by both changing what your positions are until you both get to a point where ultimately nobody is happy. And that's politics. But anyway, journalist Mandy Rhodes, who once enjoyed a warm relationship with Miss Sturgeon, that's newspaper speak for saying we're not going to say the word lesbian because there's probably a D notice on it. But yes, a warm relationship with Miss Sturgeon, reckons the toxic nature of Scottish politics can be traced back to Sturgeon's mishandling of the debate that swirled around the gender recognition bill. Writing in the Hollywood magazine, Rhodes said, "When a narcissist reframes reality to help create a false narrative that focuses attention back onto them, it's called self-delusion." And yet, ironically, there was something rather telling about the muted reaction last week to Nicola Sturgeon's first major policy intervention since she left the office of First Minister, where basically she told everyone else to calm down and take a breath. The trouble with Sturgeon is she is absolutely psychopathic. She has no tolerance. She brooks no argument. It's her way or the highway. And the trouble is, her way is always wrong. And that is why she has destroyed Scottish politics. She never allowed for any kind of judgment, if you will. There was no judgment calls. It must be absolute. There was no margins. Everything was set in stone. And if you didn't like it, then you were a problem. And it created this horrible feeling in the Scottish Parliament where everyone makes clicks. There's no consensus anymore. There's no, yes, okay, this happens to be a Labour suggestion, but actually it's quite a good idea. They just go, no, it's Labour, it's not ours, it's Labour, reject, reject, reject. Rather than saying, no, actually it's a brilliant idea, I wish I'd thought of it, but I tell you what we'll do, we'll adopt it. That used to be the thing, but it's not anymore, because everything now is tribal, and that is down to Sturgeon. The piece accuses the now backbench MSP of sheer audacity in talking about the polarisation of politics and accuses her of not supporting SNP figures who were abused for their criticism of the proposed gender reforms. And Rhodes writes that the fact that she chose to re-enter the political fray on the controversial proposals to introduce judge-only trials lacked even a modicum of self-awareness given her current predicament, especially as if you've got these trials and they were going to become juryless. It's only the tipping of the iceberg here, the tip of the iceberg. It could be that they extend that and extend that and extend that until eventually there's no jury trials whatsoever, which means there's no justice whatsoever. The establishment will find you guilty. It will be a case of wheel in the guilty bastard, and it will be a show trial, it'll be a mock trial, simply to get people made guilty. And if she was on the receiving end of that, think how she'd feel. She adds, Sturgeon approached the legitimate question of improving the lives of trans people in the same way she'd argued for juryless trials for those crimes. She identifies an issue, comes up with a simple but unevidenced fix, picks a side, lobs in some passive-aggressive comments, steamrollers on, and then wonders why it has been so polarised. The other thing, of course, is they do all of this without evidence. And especially with the gender reform, and I've said it before, they only had evidence from men who wanted to pretend to be women. They didn't actually have any women present to the committees because they knew that women presenting these facts to the committees might have changed minds, because the women had this terrible thing on their side called the truth, facts, evidence. What the men had was hurty fee-fees, and of course that was deemed more important than protecting women and children from these often criminally dangerous men. But hey, that's Sturgeon for you. The psychopath does not care about people. The SNP proposals have been widely criticised by the legal profession, with many lawyers saying they will not participate in jury trials. In fact, all of them, every legal association in Scotland has outright said they do not support it. And strangely, neither do the judges. Odd that, isn't it? All of them saying it removes independence from the judiciary and it removes the legitimacy of jury trials. By not having them, it means that there is no legitimate reason to present evidence. It might as well just be closed court sessions and the judge reading the evidence, not actually having it exposed in a court. He said it would, and it's just basically the destruction of justice. It is depressing, she carries on saying, but it is depressingly striking in today's politics just how quickly people adopt fixed and immovable positions. I'm not breaking news with this observation, but being more removed from the cut and thrust has made it so much more starker to me. She's saying that the argument over judge-only trials was a case in point, she added, before the ink was even dry on the draft legislation and without a single word of debate or evidence being heard in Parliament, let alone the shape of the final proposal being known. Fixed positions had been staked. And that is Scottish law now, because that woman has created this. She thought she was being forthright and strong, and what she has done is destroyed the art of politics. And that is why everything in Scotland is tribal, it's why everything is divided, and it's why nothing gets done. Nothing ever gets done, because you're looking at people who sometimes have expert knowledge being completely ignored and sidelined because they have the wrong view. Down to her. That is her legacy. Failure at the end. And I'm rounding off and coming up. So, how can it change? How can it revert back to a more civilised and pleasant form of politics? Well, I think number one, you've got to get rid of the SNP. They are the most destructive, divisive force in Scottish politics today. If you had a parliament consisted of professional politicians, the Labour Party, the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, people who, yes, will take opposing views on many, many points, but who can act in a human way, who can listen to experts, who can appreciate the knowledge and humour that someone from a different party may extend. Become friendly. Don't become abrasive. Don't become hate-filled. It's the only way forward. And yes, if a party who's not your party suggests something and it is a good idea, tell them it's a good idea. Tell them to talk to you. Tell them you'll try and push it through because it is actually a good idea and it would benefit the people. And after all, that is why politicians are supposed to be there. It's not for their own, benefit. It's for the benefit of the people they are paid a lot of money to represent. And I'll stop. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. But definitely leave the like. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. They're all bastards really, but some are worse than others. Bye.